The sudden news of my mother-in-law Linda's death came without any warning. Naturally, I intended to attend the funeral, but my husband, Jack, yelled at me.
Don't come. Got it?
What are you talking about? Where is a wife who doesn't attend her in-law's funeral?
Mom hated you. You'd be a nuisance, so don't come.
Even though I wasn't very close with Linda, she was still my mother-in-law. Not attending the funeral as a daughter-in-law would be highly inappropriate. Ignoring Jack's words, I headed to the funeral venue, which was a bit far away. When I arrived, I saw Jack acting as the chief mourner. What? What is this? Whose funeral is this? What I discovered next was an unexpected and shocking truth. My name is Emily, and I'm 30 years old. I married 3 years ago, and now it's just my husband, Jack, and me. I was filled with happiness at that time, but now it's different. I'm deeply dissatisfied with this marriage. Most of the issues stem from Jack. When we got married, I became a stay-at-home wife. When he proposed, he asked me to quit my job and stay home. I was just a clerk and had no particular attachment to my job, so I quit to meet his expectations. But that was a mistake. I had no significant complaints for the first year of our marriage. Things took a sudden turn in the second year. Until then, Jack had been giving me $1,000 a month for living expenses, but suddenly he reduced it to $500. I couldn't stay silent about this, so I arranged a time to talk. Hey, Jack. It's impossible to cover all our expenses with just $500.
Why? I'm paying the rent, so you only have to worry about utilities and groceries, right?
We also need daily necessities, and even with utilities and groceries, $500 is not enough.
Making it work is your job. You're being supported, so you should at least manage that.
Ultimately, he wouldn't listen, and I managed with $500. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep it under $500. Jack eats more than most people, making it even harder. For the next year, I lived off my savings, but with no income, my balance just kept decreasing. Seeing the amount go down every month filled me with indescribable anxiety. If my account balance hits zero, what will I do? No matter how hard I try, I need more than $500. Jack shows no sign of increasing the living expenses, so what should I do? So, I decided to start working again. Even if it's a part-time job, I could earn around $800 to $900 a month. With that income, things would be easier than they are now. I brought it up to Jack that night, and he immediately made a face.
What? Work? Are you kidding me? No way.
Why not? It would give us more financial breathing room.
If things are tight now, it's because you're bad at managing the budget, not my fault.
I'm bad at managing. I'm doing everything I can. Even so, it's tough, so I'm trying to think of solutions.
Playing the victim? You're living comfortably because of me, yet you dare to talk like that.
Jack's mocking tone made anger bubble up inside me. Before I knew it, I yelled my frustrations louder than I thought possible. Enough already. I quit my job because you asked me to become a stay-at-home wife.
What the heck? Is yelling going to solve anything?
I just want you to understand how I feel, Jack. How can you not see that $500 isn't enough to manage everything?
Shut up. I don't think you should blame me for everything. Think of something other than working outside, you idiot.
Jack spat out those words, shoved my shoulder hard, and stormed out of the living room. I fell to the floor from the impact, tears streaming down my face. Why? Why does it have to be like this? I want a peaceful married life. I wanted to talk to someone, but my parents live far away, so it's hard to visit them. Besides, I didn't want to worry my dad and mom, who were so happy about my marriage. On the other hand, Jack's parents live about an hour away by car. However, Jack doesn't get along with them well, and we last spoke at the wedding. So, consulting with his parents is almost impossible. When we got married, we moved closer to Jack's workplace, so meeting my former coworkers also takes time and money. If I see my friends back home, who knows what they would say? In this way, I became increasingly controlled by my fear of Jack. But then things changed. Lately, Jack has been spending less time at home. He has more overtime and business trips and often doesn't eat at home. I don't need to buy as much food when he doesn't eat at home. Because of that, I managed to get by on the $500 he gave me each month. Moreover, I worked from home and earned about $700 a month. With more financial freedom, my life became more accessible while Jack was away. This way of life continued for about a year, leading to the present. Recently, Jack has been very busy with work and rarely comes home. But when he does, he treats me like a slave and hurls insults at me. In the end, he even stopped giving me money for living expenses. One day, Jack came home from work looking unusually flustered. The moment he saw me, he blurted out shocking news.
Mom's dead.
What? Wait, you're kidding, right? Jack turned to me and shouted.
Why the hell would I joke about something like this?
But Linda was still so young.
The funeral is the day after tomorrow, but I'm going alone. You stay here.
What? His unexpected statement made me ask again. I double-checked with him. What are you saying? Where is a wife who doesn't attend her in-laws' funeral?
She's my mom, so I'll go. You don't need to come.
No, that's ridiculous. Linda is my mother-in-law too.
I don't care about that. One person is enough for my mom's funeral.
What? I couldn't grasp Jack's reasoning, and my frustration kept growing. Confused and not understanding why, I stood there as he raised his voice, clearly frustrated.
Anyway, just don't come to the funeral. Got it?
What are you saying? Where is there a wife who doesn't attend her in-laws' funeral?
Mom hated you. You'd be a nuisance, so don't you dare come.
What? Linda hated me?
Yeah, that's right. So even if you came, it wouldn't make her happy.
No way. The sudden revelation of this cruel truth made my chest ache painfully. Seeing me like that, Jack sighed in annoyance.
Isn't that enough? If Mom hated you, then Dad probably felt the same way. Your presence would make everyone uncomfortable.
Okay, I get it. Just stop.
Good. You got it? Don't come to the funeral.
Jack emphasized strongly, and I could only nod weakly. 2 days later, Jack hurriedly got ready in the morning, quickly putting on his morning clothes. While he went to the bathroom, I picked up his discarded pajamas. At that moment, I noticed his phone was left open. He had been checking the venue for today as the screen displayed the route. It was about a 40-minute drive from our place. I immediately felt a sense of unease. Isn't that strange? This area is opposite Jack's parents' house. It would take at least an hour and a half from Linda's house to get there. Wouldn't you normally choose a closer place? Why go so far away? As I was thinking about this, Jack returned, having finished his hair. Not wanting him to know I had seen his phone, I quickly grabbed his pajamas and left the room.
I'm heading out.
Right after, Jack left the house. Still feeling uneasy, I decided to put on mourning clothes and head to Linda's funeral myself. When I arrived at the venue, I couldn't believe my eyes. The seats for family and relatives were filled with strangers. And there was Jack, giving a speech as the bereaved husband.
Thank you all for gathering here today for my wife.
What? What is this?
My wife, Jessica.
Jack, shedding tears, was acting like a grieving husband. Usually, I would confront him immediately, but with the sound of people softly sobbing around me, I couldn't bring myself to disrupt the atmosphere. I overheard the woman sitting behind me talking.
Did you hear? Jack's been divorced before.
What? Really? He seems so put together.
Apparently, his first wife was a handful. She racked up a significant amount of debt.
Debt. Oh, that's a big problem.
In the end, she left him with the divorce papers. Shortly after, he met his current wife. Even though he knew she was terminally ill, they got married because they loved each other.
Wow, that's true love.
Debt? She left him. I never did any of that. Realizing the story had been completely twisted, I grew even angrier. I left the venue and headed straight to the city office to clear up my suspicions. When I got a copy of my family register, it showed I had been removed. The date was about 6 months ago. Jack likely met and married his current wife, who was ill, right after that. He rarely came home because he was living a newlywed life with her. As the pieces of the puzzle connected, my anger reached its peak. Removed me from the register and married another woman behind my back? How dare he? I'll make sure he pays for this. Determined to get revenge, I hailed a cab and headed to Linda's house, where she was likely to be. I gave the driver the vague directions I remembered, and somehow we managed to reach her house. When I rang the doorbell, Jack's mother, Linda, looking healthy, appeared. The moment she saw me, her eyes widened in surprise.
Oh, Emily, it's you.
It's been a while, Linda. I'm so glad to see you're well.
And you look well too, Emily. But what brings you here today?
Sorry for dropping by unannounced, but I must tell you something.
Something to tell me.
The truth is, I told Linda everything that had happened. How Jack treated me like a slave, how he barely gave me any money for living expenses, and how I had already been divorced without my knowledge. As I spoke, tears welled up and I started to sob. Linda gently patted my back.
Emily, you've been through so much. I'm so sorry for my foolish son.
It's okay. I'm sorry for coming here so suddenly with such a story.
It's not your fault. But why didn't you come to me sooner?
Because Jack told me Mom hates you.
What? Jack told me Emily hates you.
What? At that moment, it became clear. Jack had intentionally kept us apart. He probably thought it would be inconvenient for him if Linda and I got along and supported each other when he was in trouble. On the other hand, Jack had repeatedly asked his parents for money. He blamed everything on me, saying things like, Emily got sick, and we need money, or Emily can't work anymore, so we're struggling. Please help us, I'll repay you for Emily's sake. Of course, I was never sick, and I wasn't working because Jack asked me to stop. After meeting Linda and learning the truth, I had nothing to fear anymore. I told Linda about my plan for revenge and headed back to the funeral venue. The funeral had already ended, but a few people were still there. I approached one of them. Excuse me, do you know where the deceased's family lives? I missed the funeral but would like to visit them later. Pretending to be an acquaintance, I asked and was given the address of Jessica's family, Jack's mistress. The next day, I went to Jessica's family home. When I rang the doorbell, a woman appeared, looking worn out, likely from the grief of losing her daughter. She was probably the mother of Jack's mistress. I introduced myself as a friend and was invited inside. In the room, I found Jessica's parents, David and Michelle, and Jack himself.
Emily, what are you doing here?
Jack, who had just said my name, quickly covered his mouth with his hand. Seeing this, David asked.
Jack, what's going on?
Taking this chance, I revealed everything. I'm sorry for lying. I'm Jack's ex-wife.
Ex-wife? Why is someone like that here?
Both your daughter Jessica and I were deceived by Jack. I only found out yesterday at Jessica's funeral that I had been divorced.
What are you talking about?
Jack told me it was Linda's funeral. He insisted I shouldn't come, which I found suspicious, so I followed him. It turned out to be the funeral for his new wife, Jessica.
What is this? Jack, explain yourself.
David's voice was loud and angry, and Jack turned pale and looked down. Sensing Jack's wrongdoing, the atmosphere, previously filled with sadness, changed utterly. David and Michelle turned red with anger, their bodies trembling. Amidst this, I began my final act of revenge to corner Jack. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, and Michelle went to answer it. When she returned, Linda was with her.
Mom,
Sweat poured down Jack's face as he clearly showed his agitation. Linda, showing no mercy, began to confront him.
You've been causing trouble for everyone. What are you doing? Pay back the money you borrowed from your father and me right now. Stop blaming Emily.
wait, Mom. This isn't the time for that.
Apologize to Emily, Jessica, David, and Michelle right now. Do you realize what you've done? You divorced Emily without her knowing and declared me dead. That's beyond disrespectful.
Mom, we can discuss this later. This isn't the place.
This is exactly the place. How can we face Jessica, David, and Michelle otherwise? I'm here to ensure everyone knows how awful you are.
David then grabbed Jack by the collar and shouted.
Don't mess around.
Terrified, Jack started to cry. It turned out that Jack had also borrowed money from David and Michelle, lying that it was for Jessica. When confronted, Jack admitted that he had gambled away all the money. He was ultimately thrown out of Jessica's house and faced legal action. Ignoring his tears, I turned my back on him with Linda.
Wait.
I heard a desperate voice from behind me. I slowly turned around and spoke to him. What?
Emily, I'm really sorry. Let's start over. Please.
What?
If things stay like this, I'll get sued. Help me, please.
Don't worry, I plan to sue you too.
What?
Yes, I had already decided. For all the times he treated me like a slave and for filing for divorce without my consent. I plan to sue him for all of that through a lawyer.
Forgive me.
I spat out my response to Jack's pleading. Do you think apologizing will make everything okay? Do you even understand what you've done? Filing for divorce without my consent is a crime. Did you know that? Your apology means nothing when you lie and beg for money. Absolutely nothing.
Emily, please wait.
Shut up. Do you have any idea how many people you've hurt? What you did isn't something that can be forgiven easily. It won't be enough even if you spend your entire life making up for it. Understand this, don't ever come near me again. If you do, I will destroy you. As I defiantly spoke, Linda placed her hand on my back. The warmth of her touch made me feel like I was about to cry. Jack had to repay the $10,000 he borrowed from David and Michelle in one lump sum. On top of that, he had to pay me compensation for the forgery. His salary needed to be higher. For him, these expenses were quite a significant blow. He ended up in debt to cover the compensation, and his company began receiving calls demanding repayment. It's only a matter of time before he gets fired. As for me, I returned to my old job immediately after the divorce. Now, I live in an apartment close to work and enjoy peaceful days. Since then, I have met with Linda regularly, and we keep each other updated on our lives. It feels like our relationship has deepened since the divorce. Linda, who helped me achieve revenge against her son, Jack. I want to continue to cherish her as a second mother.